Shal- Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, welcome. Hope all of you are doing well and all of you had a restful Shabbat and your weekend has gone well and peaceful. I'm just checking in, saying hi to all of you, um, and of course, wishing all of you a productive week. And I wanted to touch on a few points just to follow up on some of the discussions on the topics that I have brought up over the last month or two. And the first thing I would like to do is to follow up on the discussion or the topic that I was covering concerning immigrants being sent back to their countries of birth and what that means for those that are left in the United States and how that is going to shape their lives, because the labor that was once relied upon uh, is no longer going to be there. So cheap labor for agriculture, um, services that have been provided to communities, that labor is no longer there. Um, cheap manufacturing jobs are no longer going to be able to be filled easily. Farm work as well. The list goes on. But as we are seeing the dismantling of American society, as we are seeing the breakdown of uh, pretty much all Western societies worldwide, they're all going to have a number of things in common. The first one, of course, as I mentioned, is labor. And I did discuss in the video America is Broke. I did go into some detail and explain that Arkansas was bringing forth um, a few different types of laws and legislation that would require a person to work if they wanted to get housing, um, food, medical from the state government, that they would have to work for those benefits. So these are people that do not have a full-time job. They do rely on the government for, their housing, for their medical, and for food. And as I did mention in that video, it would be something that would spread, that would go now from state to state. And of course, every state has their own way of doing things. It may not be exactly the same from state to state, but the essence of it would be similar or the same. And on March the 25th, I saw an article by CNN stating that the governor there is now looking at lifting child labor laws to allow vacant jobs to be filled because of the undocumented immigrants that are now being deported back to their countries of origin. And what they're proposing is that in the state of Florida, they would allow a child as young as 14 to work overnight shifts, even if they have even if they have school in the morning. And currently, children are prevented from working earlier than 6:30 a.m. or later than 11 p.m. per state law. And what they're saying is, they want to get rid of that because, these young children, 14 years old, they can fill these undesirable jobs to help out their family, and they can work overnight. And, hey, if they're able to get to school in the morning, that's great. If not, it's up to them and their families to work that out. And this is what they are trying to put forth now because they are deporting so many immigrants back to their countries of origin that they can no longer fill many of these positions. And again, these are low wage and often undesirable jobs. Okay? And this is going to spread. They are going to try to find ways now to allow or legislate young people to work when before the conditions and the limits were placed there to protect children, were there to protect workers. They're going to change it now and say that it's okay now. And this is going down a path that is going to make more and more Americans living in poverty, and eventually it'll just be outright captivity. That's what we're seeing here. And more states are going to come out with their own versions of it. I'm pretty sure that Florida is looking at Arkansas and seeing how that's going to work out. That, these people who are on, welfare pretty much, or they're on maybe some type of limited disability, they will have to work in some capacity in order, again, to pay for their housing, their medical, and their food. And you will see more states look into this. You're going to see more states do what Arkansas and Florida is doing. They may want to do a combination of both. Because they have to fill those positions. And it's going to continue. It's going to definitely continue. Um, from the last time that I discussed these topics, I touched on the wall that they're building on the southern border. Again, that is to keep Americans in the United States. It's to keep Americans in the United States so that they cannot leave, right? Because um, to date, uh, April 13th, it is record low numbers of people wanting to visit the United States. Record low numbers. People are not going unless it is absolutely essential for them to go. They cannot avoid not going, and this is countries all over Europe, Canada, um, Central American countries, countries throughout the Caribbean, Australia, New Zealand, Asian countries. So people are, for the most part, seeing what is happening to students that are in the United States studying. They are seeing what is happening when, families, individuals just go for a vacation, how people are being detained for weeks on end with no real reason given. And in the past, if it was a small visa issue, maybe something they had to go to, the visa office and or sorry, go to their um, cons. I think it's a consulate office and get it resolved. Now you get detained and locked up and you get to sleep on a cold concrete floor for weeks at a time. And from what I've heard, uh the food the food and the conditions is just deplorable, and it's turning people away from wanting to visit the United States. So I mean, they are going to build this wall, um but I don't think they're going to have that issue of people trying to come into the country. This is now to keep people out of the country. Sorry, to keep people in the country and people not wanting to come in. That I don't think that's going to be an issue for this administration, and also going forward, it will not be an issue. And in that video, I also the video about the wall that keeps America in. I also touched on these substances that at one point were free flowing, very easily coming over the border into the United States, and that were being spread up north into Canada. And you have to ask yourself that if the border from the last time um, that we were told that the border is 98% secure, and they have all these controls at all these different ports coming into the United States because they have their best and their brightest at all those ports and at all those locations, and they are firing people who need to get fired, and they're hiring the best and the brightest, but still all these substances are coming in. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? How are you saying that you have all these things under control, but yet all these substances are still able to come in? And that's because it's all a lie. None of it is true. None of it is true at all. I remember a story about maybe a decade ago. The United States going over to Afghanistan, and at that time, uh, the Taliban had the poppy plants. They were really, get going to all the fields where the poppy plants were, and producing again these substances that many Americans were consuming, these illegal substances. And the Taliban was burning all of these plants to prevent um, the, the the plants from being processed to create these substances. But when the American military came along, they actually protected those plants and allowed these substances to be produced and to be shipped out to the United States. Um, and that was just, sorry, that was just by them, sorry, uh, you know, removing the Taliban from doing what they were doing, which was bringing down the um, the volume of those substances leaving their country, headed to the United States and, of course, to Europe, all over the world. But as soon as that military came there, all of a sudden, you know, huge record breaking numbers of these illegal substances were able to leave Afghanistan and be shipped all over Europe and to America. And they did the same thing that those alphabet agencies did the same thing in Central and South America. They wanted those other substances that are produced by plants to be shipped up into the United States, over to Europe. Deals were made, people were protected, and all of a sudden we had all these illegal substances coming into the United States and going around the world. And the same thing is going to happen because they base their success on greed. And while the Most High is breaking these nations down and destroying them, they are not going to be able to understand that they are destroying themselves until it's too late. They are going to be, and they are completely blind to what is in front of them, and they're completely deaf that when someone tells them or when they hear this, what they're doing, how it's just destroying themselves, they don't hear that. They don't want to hear that. They don't understand that because they're looking at their bank account. They're looking at their life and everything is good for them. So, therefore, what is being said, it doesn't make sense. And that's what you're going to continue to see. You are going to continue seeing these illegal substances coming into the United States, going throughout Europe, and you're going to be asking yourself, why is that? If they're saying that the border is 98% secure, I personally, I've not heard an update since that number 98% secure. But if it's 98% secure and those illegal substances are still coming in, have any of you asked yourself how that is possible? And the the president of the United States, as I mentioned previously, his job is to come and dismantle the corporation. He is the CEO that is hired to dismantle the corporation and build it back up and make it more profitable for the shareholders. That is why so many people are being laid off. That is why just today I read that, I think it's North Carolina will no longer be getting any assistance from the government with their cleanup. I think it's after Hurricane Helene. That is why the United States sent over aid workers through U.S. aid to Myanmar after the earthquake. And when the workers landed in Myanmar, they were then told that they were being fired or let go by the end of April. And you'd say, why would they do this? I mean, America has been known as that uh, country that has been generous with helping people that are in trouble. They have equipment that can search for people who are buried under rubble. They have the equipment that can move a lot of rubble and debris out of the way to allow for rebuilding. Um, why would they do that? And why is it that now that they have let the FEMA workers know, and I think it's just a handful of them that are in Myanmar, why is it now that other countries are far exceeding the aid given in disaster zones than the United States? Why is that? Because America is broke, because they owe the most money out of all of the countries in the world. And, telling FEMA to not help North Carolina, a state that the president of the United States won, I think it's 3 times. Um, that's just another day. It's just another day at work. Got to get the debt down. Hey, they've had uh, what is it now? Is it 6 months now? Is it 6 months since September 2024 till now? It's probably more than, we're talking about maybe 9, 10 months since Hurricane Helene struck. Um, and most places cannot rebuild in that time, but this is the judgment. This is the judgment that is going out on all of these places in the United States, all of these communities throughout the United States and the country as a whole. And it's not, as I mentioned, it's not only the United States, it is other countries as well. You're going to start seeing a similar story being told that when these disasters hit, the government, whether it's, in someplace in Europe or if it's in Canada, Australia, like wherever that this is happening, that these governments somehow cannot follow through and help their own people. But again, remember what was said, America first, which is not what you're going to see. You're not going to see America first. That's not what's going to happen. Okay? America first doesn't mean anything. If they say Australia first, doesn't mean nothing. If they say Germany first, it doesn't mean nothing. Great Britain first, it doesn't mean nothing. Canada first, it doesn't mean nothing. These places are under judgment. It's just a it's just like a slogan, something to say, but there's no substance behind it because they know what they need to do because they're so broke, and they know that whatever is left right now, they're just picking at what's left and pocketing what they can, and they're going to be leaving a shell of a country once they're done. Because once they are done, what you will see is uh, the United States, the head of Babylon, is going to be providing labor to the world. Cheap labor, captivity labor. That's what you're going to be seeing. So at one point, everyone wanted to go to the United States to give their labor because giving their labor, the payoff was so great, right? I mean, you could become a millionaire, you can get your own house, your own property, your cars. You can just be successful. You could be something that in that person's country of birth they could only dream of. That if you just work hard, you'll be successful. And what you are going to see and what is now taking shape, what's crystallizing, is you're going to see now where it's going to be the opposite. You will see it's people that are going to be leaving the United States to make a better life for themselves. But unfortunately, it's not going to be where if they work hard enough, they're going to achieve, the house, the land, the cars, and, all this success and a large bank account in another country. Yes, they will work, but it will just be in their captivity. They're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to rise any further than they are already. It will just be that, listen, here in the United States, there is no real manufacturing that's happening. And if there is manufacturing that is happening, again, it's at the captivity level. So why don't I go to another country and maybe it will be better? But because of what is being set up by the Most High, it's not going to work out in their favor. They're going to be working in conditions that they never thought possible. And they're not going to be able to say or do anything about it because that is their judgment. So, yes, the disasters will continue, the flooding, the fires, the earthquakes, all different types of storms, whirlwinds, drought, pestilence, plagues, wars, and conflicts among themselves. All of these things are going to continue. And over time, it is going to whittle down the government, it's going to whittle down people's finances, that they're going to have nothing. That they will tell you America first, Australia first, whatever, wherever the disaster happens, we need to help our own people. But when you look into it, they're not able to follow through and help you do nothing. And while that all that is taking place, the employment is going to get worse. People are going to want to leave where they are and go elsewhere to get work. But as I mentioned, the United States primarily is going to be a place of captivity that's going to provide labor to the world. if you're going to be bringing back all of this manufacturing that the President of the United States says he's going to be doing, bringing back all these jobs, it takes years to set up a system, to set up infrastructure in order for that to happen. All of that infrastructure is already set up in many countries around the world. It's already there. Do you think that the world is going to hold on for a few years while the United States tries to figure it out? And on top of that, the wages that are necessary and also the laws that are necessary for such a system to exist and to flourish is not in the United States. Is an American going to work for $5 an hour? Is an American going to work for $5 a day? With all this bureaucracy, and you need to build things, you need to build factories, you need to change over the use of different facilities. There's so much bureaucracy. Is that going to be able to happen in a few weeks, in a few months? No, it's not going to happen. If you're charging rent, not even mortgage, if you're charging rent, $1,500, $2,000 US in rent just to rent a 1-2 bedroom apartment in a major city in the United States, and that is conservative because it depends on the city that you're in. And you're being told you're going to be making to work in this manufacturing job to be competitive with the rest of the world, right? To be competitive with China, with India, with Vietnam, with Bangladesh. That you're going to be making, $5 a day, and you have $1,500 conservative for your rent. That does not include if you want a car, food, if you to put gas in the car, service the car, if you want a phone. I mean, a phone bill is ridiculous. Like all these things that they have built up and told you that they have to charge this price and this rate, that there's nothing they can do about it, but yet somehow they want to be the most competitive country for manufacturing. It's all lies. They can't do it. They would have to dismantle their whole system to even start putting something together in a society that it would make sense. The only way, and this is with scripture, with what the Most High has said, is for these people to go into captivity. That's it. They're going into captivity. There is nothing that they're going to be able to do that is going to allow their system to still function and be a leading manufacturing country. It's not possible. But they have sold this lie to people who believe in the President of the United States. They've sold the masses this lie, and they have believed it. And they're defending it, even though the person that has made up the lie, the people around him that has made up the lie and parroted the lie, they know it's not true. They know it's not possible. But if you say it enough, they will believe it. And that is a part of their judgment. is that they are going to be in confusion and confoundment. They're not going to understand what is happening. And that is good. That is a part of their judgment. Because anyone that sits down and thinks this through will know that what they're being sold is complete lies and makes no sense. Each time that the President of the United States makes a deal with another country that is going to allow jobs to be brought to the United States for so-called manufacturing, have they sat down and considered the cost of that final product once it is produced? Will they be able to be competitive on the world stage? The answer is no. No. On top of that, they have all these robots that they're developing, all these robots that can be working in these facilities. This is not 30, 40, 50 years ago where you needed 500 workers to get something built. You might need now only 100 workers, and the rest are just robots. So this idea that, oh, we're going to have like all of these jobs just coming back to the United States, it is not going to happen. There, as I said, there's no golden age that's going to be coming. None. The job of the President of the United States is to oversee the dismantling of the American system. It cannot exist any longer, and they know that. Right now, it's just a lot of greed that's taking place. They need to get what they can get and leave. And going back to Hurricane Helene, that is why they're being told that no more help is coming for them. No more help is coming for them. The cutting off of funds through FEMA is going to slow any cleanup, any recovery. This is going to be years. Years, maybe even decades. If this can go this long, that you'll see the people in that region trying to get back their lives the way that it was. And their life, the way that it was, is never coming back. The wealth that they had, it's never coming back. They are done. I can go into a few other topics, and I probably will be covering it later on this week, but I wanted to get this out just to touch on these few topics of the different things that we are seeing. Everything is continuing as planned, and the setup is continuing to be established and put in place for the fall of these wicked people. Again, there is nothing they can do. There is no plan that they can make that is going to stop the Most High Yahuwah from bringing these people to judgment and utterly and completely destroying them, because that is where all this is going. They're not going to be able to use their best and brightest and outthink the Most High. They're not going to be able to fight against him. They will try, but they're not going to be able to overcome what is coming their way. So I want to say thank you to all of you that have joined me. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I wish you all a productive week. Shalom.